Baldur's Gate 3 is a forever game, as in you could play it forever. The amount of content and options you have at your fingertips is ridiculous, which makes it pretty easy to overlook some very important features that will drastically improve your quality of life. Here's our top tips we wish we knew when we started playing the game.
And we're starting these tips off with the most annoying but perhaps the most obvious one, and that is you can select potions and scrolls from anyone's inventory. Rather than splitting up the potions to be equal among all your companions, you can actually have all the scrolls and potions on just one. Even if you're on the turn of a previous companion, you can still go into that person's inventory, click the scrolls, and use on the current one instead.
Some potions that you always want to be carrying are Potion of Speed for its extra turn. Yeah, it has a debuff, but you should be done with the fight before it kicks in. Elixir of Bloodlust gives you 5 health and an additional action when you kill an enemy. Bark Skin increases your armor class by 16, and Drow Poison has a chance to put your enemy to sleep.
And while we're talking about potions, did you know if you had a transmutation wizard, maybe a hireling from Withers, you can actually craft 2 potions instead of 1 with experimental alchemy if you pass a 15 medicine check. It's also a good person to give all those ingredients to, just in case you don't know if you need to keep them or not.
Speaking of hirelings, did you know that they're great for temporary buffs after long rests? There's actually a bunch of buffs you can use that will last the entire time between long rests. Long Strider is a great buff that increases movement speed by 3 meters, Aid gives you 5 extra hit points, and then Speak with the Dead, Speak with Animals, and Detect Thoughts are all pretty self-explanatory.
And while talking about long rest, there really is no need to be constantly using basic abilities because you don't want to long rest. 90% of the game you can pretty much rest as long as you want. There's only a few tactical campaigns and severely restricted quests that are actually an issue, and most of these actually can be helped by buying food from vendors, or if you really feel like it, you can pickpocket, especially with the help of something like Fog Cloud.
Vendors are affected by charisma and attitude. You want to use your highest charisma character when buying and attitude when you're selling. But you can also use Fog Cloud and Stealth to help with selling. Remember that gold refreshes on the vendor after a long rest.
Talking to NPCs is also a huge part of this game. Don't forget to swap around your team's party. When actually talking to NPCs, they often will have different dialogue. If you're not happy with how your class plays, or maybe you've got a companion that completely changes the group dynamic, please remember Withers for 100 gold can actually completely change your class and respec.
Combat can be difficult, but if you want a big advantage in a fight, press Shift-C. This will show you where the enemy can see and also allow you to take just one character out of stealth to attack, while the other characters get to stay in stealth and reposition for attack so that they have the advantage. This is also a great way to use a character as a scout before entering combat. And of course, if the fights are still too hard or too easy, you can always adjust the game difficulty level at any time.
Also to know, if you do see beforehand that combat may be happening after a conversation, it's sometimes good to break your team apart into maybe 2 or 3 groups, just because, for example, you could have one team with high charisma that's actually doing the talking, and the other team maybe that's going to be up high, that's going to do range and magic, that's going to start critting, basically in case things go south.
The next best way to start off strong in combat is to carry a backpack full of debuff items. Backpacks can be found anywhere in the world. You just fill them with debuffs, throw them on the floor near an enemy, and then destroy the backpack, and right away it'll apply all the negative status effects to the enemies. But make sure you inspect the enemies first so that you can see their resistances before you try to debuff them.
If you've got a lot of range enemies against you, a great tactic is to drop darkness on your group. This means enemies can't shoot in, and on your turn, you move out, attack, and move back in. This is even more overpowered if you take this tactic to the next level with a Warlock from Devil Sights, which you gain at level 2 with Eldritch Evocations. This means that you can actually shoot out without moving outside of darkness, and it's absolutely fantastic when something comes in to try and melee you.
Stacking boxes can also be super helpful. It lets you change the landscape to be able to adventure around to new areas, and you can stack them to block doorways, or you can use them to provide cover and advantage in battles. And if you can't open a door by lockpicking it, try attacking it. Sometimes the best way is violence. But if you run into valves or statues that need athletic checks, try throwing grease at them.
And finally, the tip that has been most useful for us is knowing what spells your wizard doesn't know. So this is great if you just open your spellbook, click on Learn More Spells, and within here, you can actually see the cost and level of all the spells you have and that you do not know. And just for everyone that didn't know, wizards can learn spells from scrolls.
Thanks for watching, hope the tips helped, and see you next time.